Go.
Okay, so this lesson plan is going to be about personal money management, and it's going to revolve around balancing a checkbook, basically, is the goal, and utilizing technology to do that as well, because all the students at this school are going to have an iPad to use, because it's a one-to-one technology school. All right. So when students come in, there's going to be a question on the board, and it's going to say, what is a checking account and why might it be useful? So they would come in and they would start journaling about what a checking account is and why it might be useful. And that's kind of where we are taking off from. So Zach is my student today. Okay guys, you've had a few minutes to do your do it now question. So who can tell me what a checking account is, or what you came up with for that? Zach's the only student.
So a checking account is where you keep your money to use to spend on just whatever you write checks and use a card for.
Okay, why is it useful?
So you don't have to keep your money in like a box somewhere.
Right, you don't have to use all cash money, I think is what you're trying to say,
yeah.
right? Why would you not want to carry a bunch of cash around with you all the time?
You could lose it. It could get stolen.
Exactly.
Yep.
So most people don't just carry around cash, they have a checking account so that they can keep track of it and don't always have to have that. Another good thing about that is that the bank will protect your money in case something like that might happen. But if you just lose your cash, you are out of luck.
Broke.
Right. You're out of luck, okay? All right. So then I would go around and have other students participate in that discussion as well, but we just have our one student today. The next thing then that we would do is we're going to do an overview of what the objectives would be. I kind of already talked about it at the beginning, but I would tell the students, okay, so today the goal of our lesson is to learn what a checking account is, more about a checking account. We're going to learn how to balance a checking account. We're also going to learn how to write a check, because that's kind of going out of style. A lot of people don't even know how to write one anymore. Sometimes even when I write a check, I have to take a minute to think about how to do it, because I don't do it that often. But it is still an important skill to know. When you're getting out there in the world, as most of you are going to be graduating before long, and you need to know how to do that. Pay your rent, pay your house bill, or any other bills that you might have. Another thing we're going to learn is when you run your bank card. How many of you have a bank card? Okay. Do you know what the difference is when you choose either debit or credit when you're running that through the grocery store or wherever it might be? Or do you just pick one?
You have to punch in a PIN when you do debit, I think.
Yes, you do. That's one difference. You definitely do have to do that. So we're going to talk about that in a little more detail. Okay, and then we're also going to use some technology to learn how to balance our checkbook as well. All right. So kind of going off that, where I was talking about the debit and credit, students would get a printout, something that looks like this, and it has debit, credit, and it just lists the differences. And I would give them all this, but then I would also have a whiteboard or a smart board or some kind of T-chart, depending on whatever your classroom has available. And we would brainstorm some ideas, the difference between debit and credit. Okay, so Zach, you said one difference is for debit, you are asked to put in a PIN or personal identification number. You're not asked to do that when you run something as credit. Okay, but what do you have to do if you run something as credit, do you know?
You have to sign.
You have to sign for it. Okay, so that's your way of verifying it. So when you run something as debit, you verify it by putting in your PIN, and when you run something as credit, you verify it by signing for it. And then if the cashier is doing their job, they should be asking you for your card so that they can compare your signature and make sure that they match. Right, so they're both verifiable, but it just depends on which way you're verifying it. Okay. There's several other differences. I'm not going to go through them on this 10-minute video, but we would go through all those differences as a class and add them to our chart. Okay. The next part of the lesson is going to be when I provide students with all the materials and we actually start doing our balancing. So everybody would get a sheet like this. It says Balncing a Checkbook, and it has their balance, which is $150, and it has a list of different transactions. And they're going to need to know vocabulary like withdrawal. What does a withdrawal mean? What does a deposit mean? We already talked about debits and credits and the difference between them. And then just, the checking account, maybe even what a number would be on your checks like this. And we go over all of that. So I'll provide them with some examples of real ones like this. So up here in the corner is your check number. So every time you write a check, when you put it down, you're going to record your detail. That's what you're going to put. Okay? So this check was for $100. I'm going to put that number and how much I wrote the check for. And we're going to practice that. You're also going to have something that looks like this, which is your check register, and this is where you're going to record all your information. Your guys' just looks like this. Okay, but you can see how that compares. I can't provide these for everybody. This school doesn't give me that. Okay, so we would go through the assignment then, the expectations, and they're all going to get these things so that they can start trying to do it on their own, basically. We would also go over how to write a check, because a lot of kids don't know how to do that. So these are just kind of fake checks. It says kids bank checks, and it says pretend checks, no actual value. We would go through how to actually write out the check. So I'm going to give you guys each a check. And we're going to start out here. Okay. So let's just take a look at the information that we have. So everybody has these two sheets. On it, it says your beginning balance is $150. On January 15th, you write a check and your number is $11.50. So I want everybody to write on your checks by number $11.50, because that's our first check. You write that check to your school for $10 for 2 tickets to movie night. Okay, so your total is $10. Let's put the date in here. So today's date is 4/14. Right? 14. Okay. Oh, yeah. You're right. My bad. 4/15. 2014, okay, and it was for how much?
$10.
$10. So we're going to write 10.00. Okay. When it says pay to the order of, we're going to put your school's name here. So our school's name is Senior High. And $10. This is the part that people get tricked on. So here you actually have to write out the words. So you're going to write the word 10, T-E-N, dollars, and the word and then the way that you show cents is you write it like a fraction. So here we don't have any cents, so we're going to write 00/50. And when we're doing this, I would be showing them an example on the board as well, rather than just dictating it, but for the purposes of my living room, this is what I have to work with. So they could actually see it, because that's kind of a hard thing to actually explain just verbally. After we're done practicing writing the check, we would just be moving down the list then. So this has examples of credits, it has deposits and withdrawals. And then they would be expected to go through this and figure out their total using their calculator on their iPad. Okay, so on the iPad here, you can go in and there is a calculator right here that they can use then to figure out their totals. The students that are in my class are all going to be either SLD, EBD, or ASD, and the specific students I'm focusing on is SLD, and he's very low in math, so he's definitely going to need a calculator to do those calculations. Alright, so after they are done with that, I would be circulating while they were doing it, okay, making sure everybody got the same total. So once everybody's on the same page and we all got it all figured out, we would go ahead and move on then to the next part. So the last part then will be also on the iPad, and this is a way of double checking their work so they can kind of be self-monitoring. Okay, so they're going to go here to this app called Checkbook, and in this app you can add an account, so you can go to accounts list, maybe, and you can just click add, and then you can go ahead and put in your starting balance, which ours would be 150. So I will go ahead and have my student do that. So why don't you add $150 to your starting balance? Oh my gosh, just try it again. That's technology.
We're gonna add an account. Okay.
Okay, did you get that added?
I don't think so.
Huh?
Okay, the account was already there. I just had to add access to the account.
No.
No.
Overuse that. Anyways, I would just be having them add their account. Apparently he's having trouble, so I'd be helping him one-on-one. What are you doing?
Get away from the chair.
And then they could go over here, and then they can just go ahead and add on each one of their transactions. Okay, and that's a way to do some checks and balances and double check your work, make sure you're getting that same answer. And kids love playing on their iPads, so it's a way to kind of connect it to their interests as well. Okay. That's pretty much it for the lesson. Okay, we just be making sure that everybody got those things. So some are going to need more help than others. There'll be a pair in the classroom to help out as well. And I think I said there was about 8 students. So this will be a small group instruction for those kids that really need extra help with this personal money management. Just end it. He's fine.
So, is it?